Yeah.
credits, Bruce.
Okay. Good evening, and welcome to tonight's edition of Brookfield Public Advocate. I'm your host, Bruce Senek. Tonight we'll be continuing our series on the candidates for local office in Brookfield, and this show will deal with the position of town treasurer. Our guest is the petitioning candidate for that office, Fred Stoll. We invited 16-year incumbent David Scribner to appear, but unfortunately he declined. In his absence, we have Bill Tinsley to add perspective to the treasurer's role. Bill has the unique ability to do so, having served on the Board of Finance for 8 years now and as its chairman the past 2 years. I also would like to add, for purposes of full disclosure, Mr. Tinsley does not support the re-election of the Republican incumbent, caucus-endorsed Treasurer David Scribner. Bill is supporting the petitioning candidate, Fred Stoll. Now, let's meet the candidate. Again, our guest this evening is Fred Stoll, petitioning candidate for the office of Brookfield's town treasurer. Fred, thanks for coming and welcome to the show.
My pleasure to be here, Bruce.
Now, first, Fred, give our viewers a little information, if you would, about yourself
Okay.
and your family.
My wife Eileen and I moved here about 22 years ago. My daughter Amanda is a graduate of Brookfield High School, and she went on to Loyola of Maryland, where she graduated magna cum laude, and she's now in Thailand teaching English.
Okay.
Okay. I did 30 years in the military, starting in Vietnam and ending with a tour in Desert Storm. Also, I've been working in, recently retired. I've been working in corporate America for the last 40 years. I worked for IBM for 25 years and for Scholastic Publishing for the last 15. Those have all been in financial jobs. I started writing accounts payable and worked up, going very strong in handling with budgets and just what the town treasurer should be involved with, I would have done for 40 years.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you for your service to the country. We appreciate it. Tell the audience, if you would, Fred, why do you want to be town treasurer?
Well, I like the town of Brookfield. I've enjoyed living here for 22 years, and I'm worried about their financial position. I'm worried about not having enough money in the bank. I want to be there because I feel I can do the job. I can be there watching the nickels and dimes. This is one of the main jobs of the treasurer, is to handle all the assets of the town, and I feel it hasn't been done. And I'm worried about the town, and that's why I want to run.
Okay. Could you also tell us a little bit about what qualities you have that you would bring to the office, and also what you feel that maybe the incumbent isn't?
Well, first of all, I'll be there. I will. I'm sorry, I'm just stating a fact. I will be at the Board of Finance meetings. I will be at the Board of Selectmen meetings. I will be at the Pension Board meetings. Second of all, I've worked in finance all my life. I've dealt with that. I'm a bean counter. This is my job. This is what I do. This is what I have done. And I feel I can really do a good job for the town. And I think my opponent has just never showed up. He hasn't been there. That's the problem we have.
Yeah. Do you have any positions or would you make any pledges to our Brookfield viewers?
If I'm elected, I will be there. The controller will know my face, will know my name. The first selectman will know my face and know my name. I will attend the Board of Finance meeting. I will be a force for the town. I will want to know why things are done, where our money is, why we're not earning top dollar interest. I will be there. That is the biggest pledge I can make. You will know who Fred Stoll is.
Okay. Now, some believe, I did speak a few weeks back with the former Democrat candidate for town treasurer who has subsequently dropped out of the race, but Some people believe that the treasurer is just a ceremonial position, and frankly, including the person who dropped out of the race on the Democrat side. Do you?
No, I just think the job has not been done. That's the biggest problem. It's not a ceremonial position. The treasurer should be, the main job is watching the assets of the town. Make sure we're in a healthy financial position. It's not a ceremonial position, it's a position. It's a paid position. And you should be there.
Yeah. Well, I agree with all that. I'd like to now bring in our other guest, Bill Tinsley, and we'd like to ask him about his perspective as the Board of Finance's chair. Bill, if you could please enlighten our audience a little bit about the role of the town treasurer, what he does.
Well, Bruce, actually the town charter defines the role of the treasurer very narrowly. Basically two functions according to the charter. One is to be the agent of the town's accounts of deposit. We have money in the bank, we have money in pension funds, and so the town treasurer is the agent for the town for those accounts. Also, as a part of the charter, he has signatory authority over payments to vendors, suppliers, employees by countersigning checks. Now, presumably that counter-signature role, along with the first selectman, is a bit of an audit step to make sure that the payments are being made properly with the right authority and that they're in the right amount for services provided. But it's pretty narrowly defined. But I don't want to understate the importance of the role of being the agent of the accounts of deposit, particularly with respect to the ongoing assets of the town invested in our pension fund. Our pension fund now has about $30 million in it, and it exists, and those funds are invested, and those funds have to grow in order to meet our obligations under the pension plan. And we need to be on top of what the performance of those funds are. So even though you might say it's a very narrow definition under the charter, it's also a pretty important one.
Yeah. And is there also a role that the treasurer has regarding the town controller?
Well, actually the town controller is hired and selected and hired by the Board of Selectmen with the approval of the Board of Finance and the town treasurer. As a matter of fact, the hiring and or replacement of the town controller is done with the approval of the Board of Finance and the town treasurer. But the controller reports to on a day-by-day basis, and the operating role is in its reporting relationship to the first selectman.
Well, I imagine most of our viewers will remember, I think it was maybe 2 or 3 years ago, where we seemed to be going through controllers. I think we went through 3 within a year's period, and I believe at that time the town treasurer was the sole contact with where the pension assets were invested. So I think that the town has made some steps to have a committee, but I don't know if you had any experience during that time.
And absolutely, and as a matter of fact, for a number of years, about the only 2 hands that touched the pension account or looked over it were in fact the controller and the town treasurer. Much the reason for the recent formation of a retirement benefits advisory committee.
Yeah.
Of volunteers. The treasurer's job is not a volunteer job. It's not a full-time job. It receives a small stipend. As a matter of fact, I think the stipend is about $12,000 a year. But in terms of the day-by-day operations of the town and the controller's office, it's really not a day-by-day operating job, other than in its role as the agent for the town's funds of deposit.
Mm-hmm.
But you still should, the treasurer should be available, he should be there. He doesn't have to be there every day, but he should be there on an ongoing basis to give information to the first selectman, to control these accounts, and to be just doing a general audit of the town. Bruce, I don't know if that's 20 or 30 hours, I don't know, but it should be there.
Well, I can tell you this from my, I'm supporting Fred not just because I know that Fred is qualified to do the job, but I also know that the taxpayers in the town of Brookfield deserve to have a treasurer who has the time to give the job the attention it deserves. And frankly, with $30 million on deposit in volatile financial markets, you would think that someone within the town of Brookfield in the operating environment would have their hands on exactly what's in those accounts and how they're performing. And I can tell you from a phone call as recently as an hour ago to the controller's office in Town Hall, no one is babysitting those accounts of deposits. No one's on top of the value. It takes us sometimes 45 days after the closing of an accounting period just to get a report for what's in the account. Totally unacceptable, particularly today. $30 million on deposit, those are funds that the town needs to shepherd in order to be able to meet our obligations for the pension benefits for our employees. In today's economic climate, unacceptable that we don't have someone on top of that every day. I can promise you that if I had $30 million in the bank, I'd be looking at it 2 or 3 times a day. You probably would be as well.
Absolutely. Well, my role for close to 40 years has been as a financial advisor, and of course the last 3 months have been pretty difficult in the market with the extreme volatility. And I can attest to, and I don't have any client that has $30 million, but I'm getting calls all the time about making, should we make some adjustments? What should we be doing for my clientele? And I almost find it incredulous that you're telling me that the oversight seems to be lacking.
David Scribner has been our treasurer for 4 terms, for 16 years. Yes. 16 years. In 16 years, like I say, it's a stipend job, but we've paid him about $185,000 over 16 years, and in my opinion, on the basis of what I've observed, to do nothing. Right? We have invited him to Board of Finance meetings in order to be able to provide his perspective to the budget process relative to what the appropriate contributions to the pension plan should be. I've been on the Board of Finance for 8 years. I've been its chairman for the last 2. He has failed to attend a single Board of Finance meeting, even though he's had multiple invitations to do so. He always has a conflict, and his conflict is in his job in Hartford. He takes great pride in his perfect attendance record in Hartford. How about providing some attention to the job to be done here in Brookfield? I think it's a terrible conflict for him. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He's busy in his job in Hartford. Go do the job in Hartford. Right? If that's your first priority, that's fine. But to think that we run the potential of re-electing him for a 5th 4-year term to do nothing in the job is just something that I find unacceptable.